What can I even say? It's still incredibly good. I would probably want to lower your settings for CS2. In this video I will be pushing the RTX 3080 to its limits in CPU intensive games, and let's see how well it can perform in those games with 4K resolution and high settings, and let's see how big bottleneck does it make with the Ryzen 7 9800X 3D. Starting off with Apex Legends at 4K resolution with high settings. If you look at the on-screen stats, the RTX 3080 is pinned right at 99% usage, delivering around 120 to 130 frames per second. At 4K this is pretty good result in my opinion. Also I want you to focus on that frame time graph. For the everyday gamer, you want this line to be as straight and steady as possible. Big spikes mean the game is stuttering, and even during these gunfights or frame time line stays completely flat. Apex Legends averaged 118 FPS with 4K resolution. Next up is Counter-Strike 2 at 4K high settings. When the smoke and fire grenades explode on screen, it heavily punishes the GPU performance, and you can see the frame time line wiggle slightly under the pressure. Watch what happens when we place it side by side with 1440p. By dropping the resolution down, the graphics card doesn't have to render nearly as many heavy pixels. The FPS rockets straight past 250 and the GPU usage drops out of the 99% zone. Notice how that frame time line on the right becomes completely straight. That is exactly the smooth consistency you want in a competitive shooter. I would rather play the game with lower resolution and higher FPS. What do you think? CS2 averaged 139 FPS on 4K resolution and 269 FPS on 1440p resolution. Moving into Valorant, running at 4K and high settings. Because Valorant is highly optimized and naturally a lighter game graphically, the RTX 3080 doesn't get completely crushed by the 4K resolution here. It hovers around 90% usage, allowing our system to easily push well over 350 frames per second. Take a look at that frame time graph. At just 2 to 3 milliseconds it's almost perfectly flat. In an esports title, a flat line like this means your crosshair moves with absolute precision during the fast mouse flicks, which is what you're really looking for in these kind of competitive games, because you don't want any input lag or anything like that. It's nice how smooth the game is even on the 4K resolution. I have other videos where I play with lower resolution and I have around 900 FPS, which is incredible even though the game is really light and well optimized. Even though the FPS is good on 4K resolution, I would prefer playing on lower resolution and even higher FPS because it gives you the competitive advantage. And the average FPS on Valorant at 4K resolution is 363. Let's look at PUBG at 4K high settings. This game is notoriously unoptimized and usually causes old processors to stutter aggressively, especially when you are driving and looting dense compounds or cities. Sometimes when you turn the camera you get some random minor lag spikes, but nothing big. It doesn't really affect the gameplay. The RTX 3080 is pinned at 99% load again, keeping us around 70 to 80 FPS. But despite the heavy graphics load, notice how smooth the camera movement looks while scoping in and taking shots behind cover. Frame time stays remarkably steady around 13 milliseconds without any major spikes. Even though our graphics card is maxed out, the 9800X3D ensures that our minimum frames stay incredibly solid, meaning only slight micro stutters during gunfights. PUBG had average FPS of 74 on 4K resolution. Moving on to GTA 5 Enhanced. We are running 4K maximum settings with ray tracing turned completely off. Looking at the statistics, our RTX 3080 is pinned at 99% usage, averaging around 75 frames per second. The real stress test here is driving at high speeds through downtown traffic. On our weaker processors, loading in buildings, vehicles, and open world terrain rapidly causes the frame time line to jump all over the place, but currently it stays completely flat, which is exactly what we want. GTA 5 at 4K max settings average 77 FPS. Next, let's see what happens when we drop our graphics setting from maximum down to the high preset, while still leaving the ray tracing off. You'll notice an instant performance bump. Our average frame rate climbs towards the mid-90s, giving us a bit smoother gaming experience. If you look closely at the stats, the RTX 3080 is still running at 99% usage because the native 4K resolution is always going to demand everything this graphics card has to offer. However, dropping those heavy individual settings gives the card a bit of breathing room to push out more frames. On 4K high settings, the average FPS is 97. Finally, let's turn on ray tracing while keeping our auto settings on the high preset. The performance drops back down to around 85 FPS, and what can I say, it's still incredibly good. The RTX 3080 has 10GB of VRAM, and at 4K with ray tracing enabled, we are utilizing our 8.2GB. But even when we cause a high-speed crash with tons of physics calculations on screen, the frame time line stays flat. The 9800X3D ensures that even when your GPU is pushed to its absolute limits, your game remains perfectly stable without any instabilities. The average FPS on 4K high settings and ray tracing enabled is 83. So, what's the final judgment on pairing a modern beast like Ryzen 7 9800X3D with an older GPU like the RTX 3080? Even at 4K and high settings, the old GPU can still perform very well with the 9800X3D, which keeps the frames consistent. Obviously it doesn't magically give you hundreds of extra maximum frames at 4K, but it almost completely eliminates any micro stutters. If you want to maximize the life of your current GPU, a top tier CPU upgrade is a fantastic choice. In the next video I'm going to test out modern AAA games that are graphically demanding, just to see how well this GPU can perform in those. Thanks for watching the benchmark. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.